So today we have a very exciting episode of WealthSmarts. And to talk more about the situation, I'm going to defer it to Richard. But before I get to that, this is coming at a good time in our community involvement, whereby we like to talk about financial freedom and the capacity it builds, not only with our time, but our generosity. Now, Richard, you have had quite a bit of experience with the organization that we're going to be interviewing, and I'll shift it over to you now.
Hey, thanks, Matt. It's been a great experience, but I got to go back a number of years. You see, in the probably mid 90s, mid to late 90s, we ran a seminar called the Financial Strategies for Successful Retirement Seminar together with the Richmond Public Library. It was about 3, 4 sessions long. And, when we got to one of the last sessions, it revolved around what we do in our freedom, what we do in our financial freedom, because it makes no point having a ton of money if you don't have a life. And one thing that is always a part of that is community, because that's what we're wired for. We're wired for community. And one thing that I always encourage people to do, especially here in Richmond, was reach out to community organizations, look for opportunities to get involved. And my earliest introduction to RCRG was its earlier incarnation as Volunteer Richmond. I always sent people to Volunteer Richmond, and a lot of them ended up finding really great fulfillment in getting together with the organization. And so a number of years ago, I was approached by one of our previous chairs, Pat Watson, who introduced me to Ed and talked all about RCRG. And at that time, it was just an involvement with Richmond Christmas Fund. And we had a great time in just expressing our gratitude through involvement in that organization. And that kind of extended out to an invitation to get involved on the board. Still on the board, I had the chance to chair it for a couple of years, and delighted, more than delighted, to see our current chair, Rick Duff, here together with Ed Gavsie. So this interview is a treat for me. So I'll let you carry on from there, Matt. Okay.
So we have introduced the organization RCRG, but for anyone who doesn't know, it's called Richmond Cares, Richmond Gives. And with that, Ed and Rick, good to see you.
Good to be here.
Good to have you guys. Thanks for having us.
So, from a high level, what would you describe Richmond Cares, Richmond Gives to be like?
Well, we see ourselves sort of divided into two different sections, I guess. So one is, as Richard alluded to, our former incarnation of Volunteer Richmond, and before that, we were Richmond Connections, and that's in the we serve as the volunteer center for Richmond. And as part of that, we have about 60 nonprofits in Richmond who are members of ours. And our job is to build capacity. And when I say build capacity, I mean capacity as far as volunteerism goes, but also as far as financial resources go, not only for ourselves, but for our community and for our members as well. So we're always keenly aware of opportunities to encourage people, as Richard mentioned in the seminars, but any way that we can to encourage people to give of their time to help our community. And our mayor has often said that without the volunteer effort that are received and the thousands, tens of thousands of hours that are donated every year by people to various organizations, Richmond wouldn't be what it is today. The other side is we are a program operator. So we operate a number of programs under contract to various levels of government, as well as some corporate support that we get for them. And we operate those programs right across the age spectrum of life, from our Childcare Resource and Referral Center, which deals pretty much from children that go into daycare, right through various programs to seniors programs that we have to support seniors in our community. So we're right across the board, capacity builder and program operator.
Now, as it comes to building capacity, what have you seen is the biggest impact of your capacity building abilities on the programs and the community?
Well, it's hard to think of much past 2 years ago, or I guess coming 2+ years ago now with COVID. I'm sure that if I go back and look at my notes and some things I would have written down before then, it would bring back my memory. But over the past 2 years, and I think we can all relate to that and being in COVID times, we have seen tremendous need in the community on both ends of the spectrum. So I mentioned our Childcare Resource and Referral Center. It's a provincially government of BC funded program, and we were charged, as were all the other CCRRs in the province early on in the pandemic, with maintaining a database for first responders. So that is, say, mom is a firefighter and dad is a nurse. And then they needed childcare. Their childcare provider may have closed down, as many did in the pandemic. So we were contacting well over 200 childcare operators in Richmond every week to see what capacity that they had. At the other end, probably the biggest thing we've seen in Richmond is isolation, particularly with seniors, but not necessarily seniors. So people are feeling tremendously isolated. They couldn't go out. They weren't going to stores. As you know, I'll give you an example. I had a phone call early on in the pandemic from a lady who grew up in Richmond. Her parents, elderly parents, still lived in Richmond, but she had moved out to the valley, to the Fraser Valley. And she said that she came to Richmond at least once a week to do grocery shopping, help her parents clean, just sort of take care of them. They weren't invalids of any way, but she was helping them, and she could get them out, maybe take them for a meal. Well, obviously, when the pandemic first hit and we were all told not to go anywhere, and her parents, frankly, didn't want to see her because they were scared of the getting COVID. So that was one of the services that we were able to offer through grocery shopping, through sending in housekeeping, through contractors that we had, and we were able to help those people out. So that service, that requirement, that need, just exploded. And you know what? To this day, and we're now coming to the other side, hopefully, of the pandemic, it hasn't decreased. So our shopping orders continue to be at a high level.
And it's not just the face-to-face isolation. That's a huge component. When the pandemic first started, we were given a task by the United Way to reach out to 3,000 or 4,000 people that had signed up to volunteer. And because the pandemic had just started, everyone was in their home. And what would usually have taken a 30-second to a 1-minute phone call of, are you still interested in volunteering? Yes. What can you do? Whatever would have taken a 30-second or a minute usually went on to about 5 or 6 minutes, because the people on the other side, they just wanted to talk. And they just wanted to, and of course, we would say, well, so how are you? And how's the weather where you are? And it's just that small bit of connection that helped people through their days at the very beginning of this pandemic.
So what you've mentioned is a lot of problems and solving problems. But one thing that really stuck out to me is what you were mentioning, Rick, about those social connections. How have you seen community involvement and community connections really play a part in the whole Richmond Cares, Richmond Gives organization?
Well, it's the connections that are the lifeline between RCRG and the people that we're serving. And I've been with RCRG now for about 5 years, and just the capability of going out to help somebody, to just being there to answer their questions, is an invaluable resource for the community.
And the other thing, Matt, again, I'm talking COVID times, but a lot of people who volunteer are seniors, right? They have the time and they have the ability to donate their time as far as volunteerism goes. Well, we lost, and when I say we, I mean the nonprofit community, generally speaking, lost tremendous numbers of volunteers because the people who were volunteering also were isolating and were not going out as much and didn't want to go in, for instance, to Safeway to do grocery shopping, which they had done up to that time, and didn't want to drive anyone because they didn't want to be in a car with anyone else to drive them to doctor's appointments or shopping or wherever they had to go. So it was a two-pronged problem. And that was, number one, tremendous spike in requests for service, and number two, tremendous drop in the number of volunteers that were available. And so as a result, we had to cut back on certain services. We moved our staff into some what would have been positions filled by volunteers initially, because there were some essential services. You can't tell someone you can't get groceries for the next 2 weeks. So we had, and Rick knows himself, he's helped with grocery delivery and shopping. And Richard, I know you were
Richard,
out.
yeah.
You were out shopping for groceries and delivering groceries, etc. So we had to sort of take a pretty novel approach, and I would like to think creative approach, and just sort of, I hate to use that, the most overused word of the last 2 years, but we had to pivot in the way that we did things, and we've come through it. I'm pretty proud of our gang here that was able to continue to provide the essential services to people.
You know, one thing that has really touched my wife and I over the past little while, and Rick and Ed, you know this intimately yourselves, because not only are you involved in leadership, but you're out there, you know, really doing the work, is we were invited to do both shopping and delivering of groceries. And even though you're involved in an organization in, in a governance type of a capacity, you don't really get it until you're out there actually seeing the obstacle. And the obstacle is isolation. And then recognizing that with every obstacle is the potential for huge opportunity. And for us, it just made our day every time we went out there to deliver groceries, because we got to know the people. And Rick, I think you said it really well a few weeks ago. You say, oh, sure, I do this for the community, but in your words, I do it for me,
Yeah,
because it makes you feel good, huh?
I would, yeah. In my past working life, I had a huge amount of staff, about 1,200 staff, and I still volunteered every week the most I could, and things like that. And what you said at the very beginning, Richard, is so spot on. With when you retire, and I'm recently retired, and my wife is recently retired. You find you have the time, right? But I've had friends come up to me and say who've been retired and saying their day is just nothing, and they don't have any fulfillment. And I tell them, then you're doing retirement wrong, because there is so much to do. And I push friends who are retired to volunteer, to go out. Not only are you helping the community, but just what you said, Richard, it helps you. When my staff ask me, why do you volunteer so much? I always told them it's for a very selfish reason. It makes me feel good. And with that, of course, it makes other people in the community that we help out feel good as well.
And on the other end, I was just going to say, on the other end of the spectrum, I go out and do I'm asked to come and speak to some high school groups, usually senior years of secondary school. And one of my messages to them is, you have to have a passion in life. I don't care what the passion is. It can be the Vancouver Canucks, heaven forbid the Calgary Flames. It can be it can be money. It can be your family. It can be stamp collecting. Doesn't matter. Whatever your passion is, that's personal. But if you go through life without a passion, you're going to have a very long, slow life. So whatever your passion is, get involved with an organization. And we say it to potential volunteers all the time when we do information and referral services. We don't just say, oh, well, go be a canvasser for the Cancer Society. We don't say, go down and be a parking person for the Maritime Festival. We interview them. We say, what is your passion? What are your interests, etc. So I encourage anyone to follow their passion and give some time in volunteering to that passion. Everyone, whether they, I guess, admit it or not, has a passion in life.
Yeah. So from what I've been hearing and observing, it seems that you guys are fundamental in aligning people's passions with their participation.
That's exactly right, Matt. One of our programs, we would place young adults between 18 and 25 onto boards, and we would tell the boards to use this resource to the fullest. Don't just get these young folks to set up your Facebook page, right? So when we interview the young adults who want to be part of this program, that's the first thing we do. We say, what is your passion? What do you want to help in? Are animals? For there's boards for RAPS, Regional Animal Protection Society, all of that sort of stuff. Whatever they really feel strongly about, that's where we would place them.
Yeah, this year we have the program is called Youth Now, and this year the Richmond Women's Resource Center has what we call a youth member. And Rick's exactly right. We talk to the organizations who are going to take a youth and have them mentor them on their board for about 9 to 10 months. And we say, don't put them at the kids' table. They sit at the main table and they can help you however you want. So a Richmond Women's Resource Center this year has a young lady who's actually a medical student. I believe she's just in her first year of medical school. And her passion is getting more women, more girls involved in the sciences. We know that they're very underrepresented in the sciences. So she's created a whole program within the Richmond Women's Resource Center. And the last I heard, they had about 30 or 40 participants. They were all secondary school students, and they're talking to them about careers in the sciences. They meet regularly. They fan out information to them on a regular basis. So that, again, goes back to passion, goes back to that particular program, which is to get our youth involved in community service, the people that sit on the boards, etc. So that's I think a good example of getting people involved.
Just to go deeper on that, what was the process where you shifted deliberately from maybe youth being seen as unexperienced and unqualified to trying to get them involved in a community foundation, in a board, trying to develop skills that they could bring forward to change this world?
Well, the overarching thinking is that most boards, most nonprofit boards, are either working or governance, and with younger people, the idea of governance, so approving a budget, doing a strategic plan, considering policies, etc., isn't very sexy. It's not very appealing. give youth a project. They'll bring in 5 of their friends. They'll get the project done if it's an event or whatever the project is. So the idea was, if you look at us and Richard, boards are aging out. And right.
Thank you for not mentioning me.
No, I pointed at their generation, that's Rick and Richard's, are saying, I've done my time for me to retire, time to me to step back. Maybe I just want to volunteer doing a particular activity, but I don't want the responsibility that comes with a governance board. So you have, on the one hand, the aging out of the boards and replacing those people, and the encouraging of the young people. So that was the initial impetus behind the whole program. The Prime Minister has actually said that that's one of his keystone things that he wants to encourage, getting youth involved with community. He says it all the time. And so this program meets that. So it's to help community organizations encourage younger people to get involved, and also to encourage youth to get involved with a nonprofit at the board level. So that's sort of the overarching reason for that program.
And I really think the world is in good hands if we left it up to the young adults of 18 to 25s. I'm also part of on the board of a Rotary Club. I've been a Rotarian for 20 years. And part of Rotary is a sector called the Interact Club, which is basically high school Rotary. And I headed up the Interact Club for about 4 or 5 years. And talking to these young adults is just so enlightening. Because I know when I was 18, I wasn't thinking of how to change the world. I was thinking about, just about a lot of other things rather than, setting up events and charity endeavors to raise money. But to spend time with these young adults and the ones that we have put in the youth program is so, so refreshing.
How are you guys shining a spotlight on the problems that you see in the community and the solutions that you provide?
Well, we're in pretty constant communication with, as I mentioned before, 60 plus members. As well, we're in very regular contact with all levels of government, municipal, provincial, federal. We meet with the members of parliament, the MLAs, the councillors. And so we have to be attuned to what the requirements are. So, for instance, right now we are in the middle of International Women's Month, and we just passed, when we're recording this, we just passed International Women's Day. So we work with and are aware of the various events that are going on, and we have a very extensive network, both through our newsletters, some print advertising we do, but we are very, very active in social media, getting the messages out. So that goes back again to serving the community. And we are constantly on our social media and other means through our newsletters, etc., promoting events that are taking place in the community for people to support. So while we may not be the event organizers, or we may not be the impetus organization that's creating the events, we're certainly aware of what's going on in the community and passing out that information as best as we can, right across all of the various channels, I guess, that we have available to us. And as far as programs go, we're constantly aware of new programs that are being offered. We are at least 2 or 3 times a month applying for funding, or to be a program operator, or to extend the programs, or enlarge the programs to be able to offer more services. So that goes back to our program operator side of things. So while we may not create the content, we're certainly, or the event, we're certainly aware and promoting to our followers and to the communities we can reach.
So you can look forward to a future TikTok presentation and dance sing along with Ed and I. We're going to put that together. And
TikTok.
Ed thinks TikTok is TikTok toe.
Yeah. I was going to say you got the first square.
There we go. And we're very, very excited about getting into the podcast world. So keep an eye open for that too.
We're actually honored to be the first podcast that you guys are on. Yeah, but something just struck me. Something just struck me in this conversation we've been having, guys, and that is that, we talk about social media, we talk about podcasts and all the different social channels and everything, but all they really are tools for relationship. Right. And the relationship that's important here starts all the way, with your team, Ed, the context that they have, the deep context that you've built in your time in different areas, for instance, with tourism, Enrichment, et cetera. And, Rick, you and people on the board, the relationships that they have and all the conversations that go on. It is bringing people together to be part of a solution to the problem, be it lack of capacity, be it isolation, etc. But if we're not pursuing relationship in community organizations, we're not really fulfilling what we're wired for, which is relationship. And it's my challenge, for instance, to people listening to this or watching this recording of the podcast is, if you feel it's really important for community to engage more, if you feel that we need to let other people know more and more about solutions to problems that RCRG and its member organizations are a part of, you need to share this with everybody that you know. I know sometimes at board meetings, guys, there's something that we need people to know about, for instance, when it comes to Richmond Christmas Fund. And we all get involved and we all share things on social media because we want people to know and be part of the solution here. So again, I would encourage everybody listening here to just forward this kind of information out to everybody that you know so that we can all be part of the solution.
And one of the nice things about Richmond, and you mentioned earlier, I used to work for Tourism Richmond, and I used to travel all over North America, basically to conferences with my colleagues in the destination marketing and tourism world. And we would just talk, at the meals, over a drink or whatever. And they were always amazed of the cooperation in Richmond. And when I say cooperation amongst the nonprofits, RCRG, we don't do lobbying. We're not an advocacy organization. But for instance, the Chamber of Commerce is. So when one of our members has an issue, we can talk to the chamber. When the city is to be promoted as a destination for tourism and hospitality, Tourism Richmond is able to do that. But Tourism Richmond is hosting a provincial tourism conference, and they came to us. It's being hosted at the night market, a reception and dinner, and they came to us looking for volunteers. So, to fulfill various roles. So we all work together very well, and I even include in that the city of Richmond. As you know, Richard, and Rick knows, a couple of years ago rolled their Working Families Fund in at Christmas time. They rolled it into the Richmond Christmas Fund, which is another program of RCRG. So we're constantly communicating. That comes from communication, and that comes from cooperation, and that comes from working together. And as much as we may or may not think that we all work together, or the city does that the organizations within the city of Richmond do that particularly well. We do, because I've talked to a number of other organizations in other cities who are amazed at how we all cooperate and we don't compete.
Yeah. And to that is, we'd be remiss if we didn't put a big thanks out to all of our partners and our companies that help out. Companies such as Platinum Proclaim, who's been a huge supporter of the Christmas Fund and all of our other endeavors. Herbaland, the service groups in Richmond, not just Rotary. And on our board, one of our board members started a Lions Club. So the help that they give out, and we're in a partnership with the Rotary Club of Steveston, that they've donated a leased SUV that we can use to deliver groceries, to deliver some seniors for doctor's appointments and things like that. And it's the partnerships of all of these organizations that not just help RCRG, but helps out themselves as well.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's very powerful. One thing that's coming to mind for me is what makes RCRG work so well within the community is the relationships, the cooperation, the lack of competition. For me, it seems like the kind of glue that pulls everyone together towards a greater cause. And I think that, what in your mind do you think is that greater cause in Richmond that everyone is unified toward?
Well, as I'm constantly saying when I meet with the politicians, we're all serving the same clients, right? We're all serving the people of Richmond, the residents of Richmond. That's our trading area, and that's what we know best, and we serve best. So, one of the things I hear, this is just as an aside, one of the things I hear about Christmas Fund is we're a member of the Lower Mainland Christmas Bureau. We're one of about 9 Christmas bureaus from Maple Ridge to Vancouver to Surrey, etc. And one of the things I hear sometimes when we go to meetings is Richmond. Why does Richmond need a Christmas bureau? Right? You've got $6 million condos and $10 million homes and whatever. And one of the things my sort of standard answer now, I guess, is, yeah, but you don't know what's going on in those condos. You don't know what's going on in those homes. There may be 5 families living in there. The condo may have mattresses on the bed with 2 families. And these, exactly because of those costs, those families, mom and dad are both working just to pay the rent, to put food on the table, to clothe the kids. So I think that whatever the service is, whether it be service for seniors, whether it be service to parents and daycare operators, we're all working together because we all serve the same clients, and that's to ensure that the most vulnerable in Richmond get served. Our largest single event for the Richmond Christmas Fund over the past 7 years, and we've just confirmed that they'll be going ahead again this year for the 8th, is the RCMP toy drive. So you would think, well, why do the RCMP do a toy drive? That's sort of outside of what we think of police or policing. And their answer is very simple. We see the most vulnerable people at their worst. And so we want to be able to help the people of Richmond. We want to, we had a program with the RCMP a couple of years ago where we had a donation made, a large cash donation. The RCMP can't accept cash in any form. So we went and we bought some McDonald's gift cards and some Save on Foods gift cards. We gave them to the RCMP. They do regular patrols, I guess, or visits to the homeless population in Richmond. They know where they are, and they just make sure that they're okay. And they handed them a $10, $20 McDonald's card or whatever value Save on Foods card. And they actually told us that was the best rather than food or anything, because a lot of the homeless have no way of preparing the food or storing it or moving it, etc. So that's just another example of how we can all work together. We didn't have to put together a program to go visit the homeless people. That's not our expertise. There are other organizations that deal with addictions, with Enrichment Addiction Services and Turning Point Society. So we all work together and we all cooperate. We got a huge donation last year from the Sheraton Airport Hotel of bars of soap and lotions, the kind that the little ones that are in the hotel room. Well, we gave out some to our Christmas fund clients, but we turned around. Turning Point operates a shower program for homeless. So we turned around and donated half of there were hundreds of bars of soap. I don't even know how many they were in cartons. And then we took another carton out with working with the RCMP. They made contact with the Salvation Army shelter. And we dropped off another box. So those are just examples of we're all serving this community. We're all serving the people in need in this community. And any way we can work together and do it from an RCRG standpoint, we're going to.
That is so cool. That you alluded to that problem before, that some people are not aware, and some people actually resist the idea that poverty can exist in a certain community, that hard times can exist in a certain community. And, we know for a fact that people who are in hard times, who are going through a rough spell in their lives, they have their dignity. That's one thing that they have left, is their dignity. And they will do whatever it takes to preserve that dignity by not really letting people know about their problems until there's somebody that they can trust. And through relationship, RCRG and its organizations within, the RCRG community, they've got that trust building ability. So trust us, folks. There are problems out there, and engagement in volunteer work, engagement in supporting organizations within RCRG and other nonprofits, which I don't like to call nonprofits, by the way. I like to call them impact organizations. Like, I think that's really what they do. It's so important to get involved and just recognize and trust that the problems are out there and you can be a part of the solution.
Absolutely.
Well said, Richard.
Yep.
I love the example of the RCMP toy drive, because it demonstrates a real knowledge of the problem that people, as we were alluding to, don't really see. What are you guys have really demonstrated an ability to see a problem and to pull the people together to solve the problem. What are some of your favorite programs that you guys run with a clear problem that you guys have supported a solution to?
Oh, well, I was just going to mention one that we've already brought up earlier that Richard is a part of as well, and it's the grocery delivering for seniors who are shut in, whether it's because of the pandemic or whether it's for other reasons. To take 2 or 3 hours on a Wednesday afternoon, load up your car with groceries, and go to these set people. It's so rewarding to be able to drop them off, help them out, and to see the thanks that they have on them, that they know that they wouldn't have gotten this, or it would have been a lot more difficult to get the necessity groceries that they need. It's very impactful, and I think I can speak for you as well, Richard. It's when you're done with your 2 or 3 hours, or not even that, but you just know that you helped, and that's beyond words.
Absolutely.
And I'll give you another example of a problem. It's very well known in the province that we're short of daycare spaces, especially for infant daycare. And I'll tell you exactly now, 4 years ago, my daughter called me one day and said, "Dad, my maternity leave is over in 2 months. I've been on waiting lists for over a year for several childcare operations, and I've been calling and I've been visiting, and I can't find anywhere, and I have to go back to work a couple of months. So I was able to put her in touch with our CCRR, or Childcare Resource and Referral Center. We don't actually operate a daycare, but we maintain inventories. We do inspections of smaller organizations, and they were able to get her in touch with the type of program that she was looking for, and she had a space because we maintain inventory, and we were able to help her out that way. That's just a personal example. And I, off the top of my head, we do report to our board every month on our statistics, but they are fielding hundreds of calls from parents, whether it be about subsidy programs, whether it be about daycare spaces, whether it be anything to do with childcare. So that's another example of how parents have concerns, questions, etc., and we're just able to help them out.
So I think everyone kind of wants to get involved. For those who want to get involved, either through their time, their treasure, or maybe a program, what is a good call to action for them?
Well, Matt, did you mean cash by treasure? Because we're always willing to accept treasure in the form of cash.
Yeah,
we are a
I
charitable
didn't mean.
organization, so I'm not afraid to say we do accept donations
Yeah,
at any time. But
you
the
know,
easiest
but like, yeah,
the easiest way for people is to go to our website. So it's RCRG, Richmond Cares, Richmond Gives, rcrg.org. And from there, we have a page that has all the volunteer opportunities that are listed by various organizations. There's usually a little less now in COVID times, but there's usually somewhere between 40 and 80 opportunities listed there. Again, you can sort it by, as Rick mentioned, animal welfare or medical or disease, whatever, however you want to sort it. You can sort it by, I want to work at an event, I want to be on a board, I want to just donate time where needed. So that would be for time. But also on there is a calendar of events. So we encourage nonprofits and our members to list all of their events on that site. And then there's information on all of our various programs, rcrg.org.
Well, I was just looking at the website here, and I know one project this past year was making this more accessible for people that are using their cell phones a lot. I was looking at it right here. The mobile version is awesome. So good job, like really well done. And it's great to access everything about RCRG right on here.
That's right. Well, again, we wanted to appeal to the younger people. So I'm quite impressed, Richard, that you actually found it on your phone. But the idea by our company that helped us mobilize, it's not an app. I had to be reminded several times, not an app. It's a mobile-friendly website. But the idea was, for people traveling on the train downtown or back, and they want to look for volunteer opportunities, they're now able to find anything much easier on mobile.
Yeah. A friend of mine who now does the shopping, that the groceries that we deliver, Richard, I told her exact same thing, and she found it on her phone, made the phone call, and came down the next day to set up the times where she could shop. It literally took her minutes, and she'd been wanting to do something for a long time. And I said, well, it's easy to say, well, I don't have the time. Well, you can find the time. And she did, and now she's part of the solution.
Perfect.
Any closing thoughts, Richard?
This has been a joy. Thank you guys for joining us on the podcast. I love this organization. We've been in Richmond since 1970, and I'm proud to be part of a community like this. One thing, there's two things that bring me pride of being in Richmond. And number one is Canada Day, when we can do it again. at the Salmon Festival parade, seeing every organization or almost every organization in Richmond parade down the street and realizing what a rich community we have. And the other thing, and I think even more impactful, is being a part of RCRG and meeting every person that is a part of the organization. You don't really get to see what's going on beneath the organization until you get involved. So I really, folks, go to the website, check them out on your smartphone, or on your desktop, and get to meet and work with these wonderful people. Good having you on, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, guys.
Our first podcast experience, you made it very painless.
Very painful.
Cool. Thanks,
now we're
Matt.
going to go practice our TikTok routine.
That's it. I get the top left corner, X's.
Thanks, Rick, and thanks, Ed.
Bye.
Bye, guys.